When we think about success and getting everything we want in life, we often imagine loud voices, bold moves, and constant communication. But what if the real key is something much quieter, something as simple, yet profound, as being silent? It might seem counterintuitive at first. After all, we live in a world that rewards speaking up, making noise, and being heard. Yet, in the silence there is a power few fully appreciate, the power to listen. When you choose silence, you open the door to listening. Not just hearing, but truly listening. And in listening, you begin to understand. It's through understanding that we gain insight, empathy, and clarity. In many ways, silence is a gateway to knowledge that cannot be reached through noise. I have seen time and again how those who master silence and become great listeners find themselves in a position where opportunities come to them, not because they shouted the loudest, but because they understood the landscape, the people, and the challenges before anyone else did. Listening is a skill often undervalued. We rush to respond, eager to voice our opinions, our ideas, or our concerns. But when you pause and hold back your words, you create space to absorb. You allow others to express themselves fully. In that moment, you're not just hearing words. You're picking up on subtleties, emotions, and intentions that might otherwise be missed. This deeper level of understanding builds stronger relationships, which are the foundation of success in every aspect of life. Think about the most successful leaders and innovators throughout history. What sets them apart? Often, it is not just their ideas or vision, but their capacity to listen to customers, colleagues, and the environment around them. When you're silent, you are better equipped to grasp feedback without defensiveness, to see the bigger picture without bias, and to reflect deeply before you act. This kind of attentiveness leads to wiser decisions and more meaningful connections. Silence also fosters humility. It teaches us to acknowledge that we don't have all the answers, that there is always more to learn. This mindset opens doors to continuous growth. When we talk too much, we risk locking ourselves into a fixed perspective, but when we listen and observe, we stay open to new ideas and new ways of thinking. This openness is crucial in a world that is constantly evolving, where adaptability is a core strength. Furthermore, silence is not just about refraining from speech. It's a practice of mindfulness and presence. When you are silent, you become more aware not only of others, but also of yourself. You start to notice your thoughts, your biases, and your assumptions. This self-awareness is critical because it allows you to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. In a culture obsessed with speed and immediate responses, the ability to pause and reflect is a rare and invaluable skill. I have seen that in moments of silence, solutions often emerge naturally. When you step back from the noise, from the endless chatter and distractions, your mind can focus clearly on what truly matters. Silence creates the mental space for creativity and innovation to flourish. It is in these quiet moments that ideas take shape, that strategies become clear, and that confidence builds quietly but surely. We must also remember that silence does not mean passivity. It is an active choice, a strategic pause that enables better engagement. When you speak less and listen more, you earn respect. People recognize that you value their words and perspectives, and that respect builds trust. Trust, in turn, is the currency of leadership and success. Without it, even the best ideas can falter. So, as you pursue your goals, consider the power of silence. Embrace it not as emptiness, but as fullness, a fullness of attention, understanding, and purpose. Let silence be your tool for gathering knowledge. for building empathy, and for sharpening your insight. In this way, silence is not a void, but a vital source of strength that will guide you toward everything you seek in life. In the quiet, you will hear the answers you've been searching for. There's something deeply transformative about silence that goes beyond just listening to others. It's the way silence cultivates patience and self-control, qualities that are essential if you want to truly succeed in life. In a world where instant gratification is often the norm, where everything is expected immediately, choosing to be silent can feel almost revolutionary. But it's precisely this practice of silence that helps us develop the inner strength required to navigate life's complexities and challenges. When you remain silent in moments of tension or uncertainty, you are exercising patience in its purest form. Instead of rushing to react or speak, you hold back, you pause, and you allow the situation to unfold. This pause creates a space for thoughtfulness, a moment to assess, to reflect, and to consider before you act. Patience is not simply about waiting. It's about how you behave during the wait. Silence teaches us to embrace that wait without anxiety or frustration. In my experience, patience cultivated through silence becomes a powerful tool in leadership and in life. Leaders who rush into decisions without reflection often miss critical details or overlook the perspectives of others. But those who take the time to listen quietly, to weigh options carefully, and to hold back their immediate impulses invariably make better decisions. This kind of patience is a sign of maturity and confidence because it shows a deep trust in the process and in one's ability to handle whatever outcome arises. Self-control is closely intertwined with patience, and silence is its practice ground. When you choose not to react impulsively, when you resist the urge to speak out of anger, fear, or impatience, you are exercising self-control. This ability to regulate your emotions and responses is what distinguishes someone who acts with intention from someone who is driven by impulse. The power of silence is that it helps you build this regulation muscle. Consider the everyday moments when we're tempted to respond immediately, whether in meetings, conversations, or even on social media. It's easy to get caught up in the heat of the moment and say things we later regret. But if you train yourself to stay silent just a little longer, to let the emotional surge pass, you give yourself the opportunity to respond in a more measured, thoughtful way. That moment of silence can prevent conflict, build bridges, and preserve relationships. There's also a deeper emotional intelligence that arises from practicing silence. When you are silent, you are better able to recognize your own emotional states. You become more attuned to your inner voice and less driven by external noise. This self-awareness allows you to respond with empathy and understanding, not just towards others, but toward yourself as well. You develop the resilience to face challenges without being overwhelmed by stress or frustration. Patience and self-control gained through silence also encourage perseverance. Life is filled with obstacles that require steady effort and resilience. It's easy to become discouraged or frustrated when things don't move as quickly as we want. But silence teaches us to stay calm and focused, to keep working steadily toward our goals without giving in to impatience or anxiety. This persistence is often the difference between those who succeed and those who give up too soon. Moreover, silence creates an environment for introspection. In the quiet, you can evaluate your progress, your intentions, and your values. It allows you to check in with yourself regularly, to ensure that your actions align with your long-term vision rather than momentary desires. This alignment is crucial because without it, success can feel hollow or unsatisfying. The patience to listen to your own inner compass and the self-control to stay on course, even when distractions abound, are what bring lasting fulfillment. Silence also fosters humility, another key component of patience and self-control. When you choose to listen rather than speak, when you hold back your immediate opinions or judgments, you acknowledge that you don't have all the answers. This humility opens the door to learning and growth. It encourages you to see setbacks not as failures, but as opportunities to deepen your understanding and improve. In the workplace, I have witnessed the immense value of this kind of silence-driven patience and self-control. Teams that cultivate these qualities are more collaborative, more innovative, and more resilient in the face of change. It's in those moments when people resist the urge to react hastily, choosing instead to listen and reflect quietly, that breakthrough ideas often emerge. It's a quiet strength that sustains individuals and organizations alike. So, as you think about the role of silence in your own life, consider it not just as the absence of noise, but as an active practice that nurtures patience and self-control. These qualities are not just virtues. They are practical tools that help you manage complexity, build trust, and stay grounded amidst the chaos. They empower you to navigate life's uncertainties with grace and confidence. When you embrace silence in this way, you find that you are not merely surviving the challenges life throws at you. You are mastering them, and in mastering patience and self-control, you unlock a deeper sense of power and purpose that guides you toward everything you desire. Patience and self-control are gifts given through silence, and through them, life unfolds in the way it was always meant to. One of the most profound ways silence shapes our journey in life is by guiding us toward better decision-making. It's easy to underestimate how much noise, both external and internal, clouds our judgment and leads us to choices that might not serve us well. But when we embrace silence, we give ourselves the rare opportunity to observe carefully, to reflect deeply, and to act with clarity and intention. This ability to pause and observe without rushing into action is what ultimately leads to wiser, more thoughtful decisions. In today's fast-paced world, there's often immense pressure to respond immediately, to give quick answers, to make rapid judgments, and to move swiftly without delay. While speed can be valuable, it can also be a trap. When decisions are rushed, we risk overlooking critical information, ignoring different perspectives, or acting based on fleeting emotions rather than solid reasoning. Silence, in contrast, invites us to slow down. It encourages us to create space between stimulus and response, between problem and solution. That space is where real insight lies. Observation is a skill often neglected in our noisy lives. When we are silent, we sharpen our senses and become more attuned to details that might otherwise slip past unnoticed. Whether it's in a business meeting, a conversation with a colleague, or even in our personal relationships, silent observation allows us to read between the lines. We begin to understand not just what is said, but what is implied, what is felt, and what is truly at stake. This deeper awareness enriches our perspective and informs our decisions in a way that superficial observation never can. Beyond external observation, Silence gives us the chance to listen to our own intuition and inner wisdom. Often, we're so caught up in external noise, opinions of others, social pressures, or the rush of daily life, that we lose touch with our own voice. But in silence, that voice becomes clearer. We gain access to our core values, our priorities, and what genuinely matters to us. Decisions made in alignment with this inner clarity are far more likely to bring lasting satisfaction and success. It's important to recognize that silence in decision-making is not about indecision or procrastination. It's about thoughtful deliberation. It's the difference between waiting to gather information and waiting because of fear or uncertainty. The former is an active process of engagement, while the latter is passivity. By choosing silence, we are actively creating the conditions for better decisions, ones that are informed, balanced, and grounded in reality. There's a powerful connection between silence and emotional regulation as well. When we remain silent, we give ourselves the chance to calm turbulent emotions that can cloud judgment. Decisions made in anger, fear, or frustration are rarely wise. Silence allows those emotions to settle, giving space for reason and perspective to emerge. This emotional clarity is essential, especially in high-stakes situations where the consequences of our choices are significant. I've observed in my own life and work that some of the most impactful decisions arise not from forceful declarations or impulsive leaps, but from moments of quiet reflection. Leaders who practice this form of silent observation create cultures where careful thought and measured responses are valued. They understand that rushing to speak or act often sacrifices depth and quality for speed. They make room for diverse viewpoints to be expressed and considered, knowing that the best decisions often come from collective insight. Silence also nurtures creativity in decision making. When the mind isn't cluttered with constant noise and chatter, it can explore possibilities more freely. Ideas have room to grow, connections are made more naturally, and innovative solutions emerge. It's in those quiet moments, away from distractions, that breakthroughs happen. This is why silence is not a weakness, but a strategic strength. Moreover, silence fosters humility in decision making. It reminds us that we don't have all the answers and that it's okay to seek input, to listen, and to revise our thinking. This openness is vital because no single perspective holds the whole truth. By remaining silent and observant, we invite learning and growth. We become better equipped to navigate complexity and uncertainty because we acknowledge the limits of our own knowledge. In a world saturated with information, opinions, and constant communication, choosing silence can feel like swimming against the current. But it is precisely this choice that allows us to stand apart, to see clearly when others are overwhelmed by noise. Silence helps us prioritize what matters most, to cut through the clutter, and to focus on what will truly move us forward. As you reflect on the role silence can play in your own life, consider how many decisions you've made in haste, influenced by external pressure or internal restlessness. Imagine the power of pausing, of stepping back quietly to observe, to listen, and to think before acting. This practice doesn't weaken you, it strengthens you. It builds a foundation for decisions that are not only effective but also meaningful. In the end, silence teaches us that the best decisions come from stillness that opens our eyes, calms our minds, and connects us to our deepest wisdom. In silence, clarity emerges. There is a profound beauty in the quiet moments of life, those spaces where the noise fades, and all that remains is stillness. It is in this silence that clarity often emerges, a clarity that reveals not only who we are but also the opportunities that await us. This inner silence is not an absence but a presence, a fertile ground where ideas grow. Priorities become clear and purpose aligns with action. It's one of the greatest gifts we can cultivate, especially in a world that never stops talking. When we allow ourselves to be silent, to truly step away from the constant chatter and distractions, we open the door to self-reflection. This self-reflection is critical because it gives us the chance to examine our lives honestly, to ask the difficult questions about what we want, what we value, and where we are headed. Without this pause, it's easy to get caught up in the momentum of daily routines, to drift without direction, and to miss the signals that point us toward meaningful change. This clarity gained from silence helps us discern what is truly important from what is merely urgent. Often, we mistake busyness for progress, noise for action. But being constantly active without reflection can lead us away from our true goals and dreams. When you embrace silence, you give yourself the chance to slow down and prioritize. You see what deserves your energy and what does not. This kind of clarity is not just helpful, it's transformative. It empowers you to say no to distractions and yes to what aligns with your purpose. Opportunities, too, reveal themselves more clearly in silence. When the mind is cluttered, it is hard to recognize the subtle signs, a chance encounter, an unexpected idea, a quiet intuition that could change the course of your life. Silence sharpens our awareness so that we become more receptive to these moments. It trains us to notice the nuances, the patterns, and the possibilities that others might overlook in the noise. There is a certain confidence that comes from this kind of clarity. When you are connected to your inner silence, you make decisions from a place of strength rather than anxiety. You are less likely to be swayed by the opinions of others or the pressures of the moment. Instead, you act with intention, guided by a clear understanding of what matters most. This confidence is magnetic. It draws people and opportunities toward you naturally. Inner silence also fosters resilience. Life is full of uncertainty and challenges, and it's easy to become overwhelmed. But when you cultivate silence within, you create a calm center that can weather storms. This calmness allows you to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. It's the difference between being tossed by every wave and standing steady in the face of adversity. In leadership, this clarity and calmness are invaluable. Leaders who practice silence are able to see beyond immediate problems to the bigger picture. They can anticipate challenges, recognize emerging opportunities, and inspire others with a vision grounded in thoughtful reflection. They build cultures where thoughtful action replaces hurried reaction, where people feel heard, and where innovation flourishes because space is made for creativity. We often underestimate the power of this quiet strength. The world tends to celebrate noise and speed, but history shows us that many of the greatest achievements come from those who took time to reflect, to listen, and to wait for the right moment. This is not passivity. It is active engagement from a place of deep understanding. Silence also connects us to our own purpose in a way that constant activity never can. When we stop to listen inwardly, we can hear the whispers of our true calling. This connection is essential because it fuels motivation and sustains effort through difficulties. It reminds us why we started and why it's worth continuing. As you embrace silence, you may notice a shift in how you perceive the world and your place in it. Life becomes less about frantic pursuit and more about meaningful progress. You begin to recognize that everything you seek, whether it's success, happiness, or fulfillment, starts from within. The outer world reflects the clarity you nurture inside. So I invite you to embrace silence, not as emptiness, but as a powerful presence that clears your mind, sharpens your awareness, and aligns you with your deepest purpose. In these quiet moments, you will find the clarity that guides you and the opportunities that propel you forward. From silence, all things become possible.